Hi guys, welcome to Brandix Reviews. Today I'm going to be talking about Captain Marvel, which has just come out today. Today's Friday, the 8th of March 2019. Now, this film's had some interesting reviews and it's had some interesting controversy surrounding it, and to me it seems like it's almost a non-traversy. I mean, I understand some of the things that Brie Larson has said. She has been a bit of a bell end. I've got no time for SJW stuff, and that is what she has been leading up to this film, but also things that were said a year or two ago as well. It's been fairly consistent with her character off screen, but luckily that doesn't really make its way into the film. I heard some things said about this film that it was a feminist piece. It's not. It really isn't. I know what a feminist piece is, and that would be your 2016 Ghostbusters. Not only was that a bad film, but it had some stupid gender baiting stuff to it. This film doesn't have that at all, so I didn't see that anyway. You can make a case that it does, but you're gonna lose, in my opinion, anyway. So that aside, some of the other things that were said about this film were that it was maybe not as good as some of the other Marvel films. I agree with that. I would say this is middle tier for Marvel. In context, I would say the best films would be The Avengers, Captain America, Winter Soldier, Avengers Infinity War from last year, the original Iron Man. They're all the best ones. My least favourites would be Incredible Hulk and Thor The Dark World. So I would put this in the middle, sort of aside Doctor Strange, basically. The origin films are always going to be a bit tricky because we've seen origin films in this universe. You kind of have to do them when you're setting up a new character, but this film doesn't really suffer from origin stuff that we're really kind of sick of seeing nowadays. There is a little bit of that, but there's more to this film than that, which is good. Now, Brie Larson, I didn't think she was the best part about the film, it has to be said, and I haven't got anything personal against her. I'm not really happy with some of the things she said, but to me it's like, well, I'm used to knowing that actors and singers and these people whose art we like may have opinions and say things that we really don't like. I mean, it's Chris Cornell, for example, my favourite singer, has politically said some stuff and taken part in things that I fundamentally disagree with, and I don't give a shit. I really don't. It doesn't affect the fact that, you know, I think was really good. So with Brie Larson, I'm not coming from that point of view. It is what it is, but I just genuinely thought she was very one note in this. She wasn't hugely inspiring. It was fairly basic stuff with her getting her powers. She's alright. She's an alright actress, to be fair. But I just thought that Ben Mendelsohn in this film was really good in it. I'd heard that was the case, and I've seen him in plenty of other things to know he's a great actor, but he really was good in this. And he kind of like, not an extreme example, but I'd always go back to Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. Alan Rickman stole the show from Kevin Costner in that film. And I like Kevin Costner, but Alan Rickman was just so much better. I wouldn't say to that degree. He doesn't shine as much as Alan Rickman did in that film. But Ben Mendelsohn in this was very good. Samuel L. Jackson as well, very good. Jude Law, who I'm not really a fan of, but I think in more recent years I've liked more of his stuff. As an older man, I think he's got a bit more about him, I guess. And he was really good in this as well. So in comparison, Brie Larson, she's just very one note in this, like I say. And to be honest, I think she's better than that. I just hope as they kind of take the character forward that they really go somewhere else with her. Because she was a bit sort of too stoic. I'm not saying she has to be extremely feminine in a cliche sense, but there wasn't much range at all, really. I mean, there were a few little bits where you'd have like a glimmer of, oh, this is where she's lamenting something or whatever, or in this one she's having flashbacks or whatever, and she's getting emotions. You can see it kind of processing with her, but there wasn't a lot of range, it has to be said. So we'll see going forward. Now, In terms of, I'm not going to give away spoilers till later in the video, so I'll warn you before I give any spoilers out, but there were plenty of nods to other things in the Marvel universe here. Obviously, if you've seen the trailer, you'll realise that Coulson is in this. He doesn't have a major role in the thing, but there's enough scenes with him that's pretty cool. Samuel L. Jackson is in this quite a lot. He was in it more than I expected, to be honest. He comes into it pretty much in about a third of the way through, maybe even a quarter of the way through, and then he's pretty much in it till the end, consistently. We've got other characters recurring that maybe you haven't seen in the trailer. So, in fact, bollocks, let's just say from this point on, I'm going to throw spoilers out. So, other recurring characters that we've seen previously, bearing in mind this is technically a prequel to the MCU that we know. Ronan the Accuser and I think he was called Korath, played by Jimon Hunso. Or Hounsu, I can never pronounce his name, from Guardians of the Galaxy anyway. They're in this. I'm sure you were already aware of that. But it pretty much ends with Ronan the Accuser launching an attack on planet Earth at the end, which is interesting to see because there was never an indication from Guardians of the Galaxy that he'd ever been to Earth, and in this you get to see it. And some of the sort of space technology that you see from Guardians of the Galaxy is in this film as well, which is great because it just connects the dots in a really subtle way, but they know that fans of Marvel will spot things like that. It's kind of like seeing an X-Wing in a Star Wars movie. It's just like, I've seen one of those before. It's like, you know what that is. You know exactly what that is and who flies that and how it works. So it's the same with the MCU, all these little things they throw in there, you recognise straight away. So that was really good that they did that. Now, there are 2 credit scenes, mid-credit scenes in this. 1 mid-credits, 1 post-credits. The basics of it is the mid-credit scene ties in directly with Avengers Infinity War / Endgame. I'm pretty sure that is a scene lifted from Endgame. They sometimes do that with post-credit scenes with these films. Sometimes it's something specifically made up to be an end-credit scene, and sometimes they just take a scene from one of the future films that's imminently out and sort of transplant it into this. They've done that a few times before. I'm pretty sure that's what this scene is. Basically, you've got some of the Avengers. You see Mark Ruffalo. You see Chris Evans, obviously Captain America. You see Scarlett Johansson's Black Widow. And I think you see... you see War Machine character as well, Rhodey, played by Don Cheadle. And they've got the pager that you saw at the end of Avengers Infinity War, and they've collected that from the spot, obviously, where Samuel Jackson was dusted, and they've continued to keep this thing transmitting. They don't know what it is, but they know it was important enough for him to trigger. But the problem was with the thing, the power was running out of it, and they overrode the battery from the looks of it to keep it transmitting because they just trusted Nick Fury's character that whatever it was important enough. So they wanted to keep it running, but it suddenly switches off, and they were like, well, how's it switched off? I thought we kept it running. And then all of a sudden Captain Marvel's there saying, where's Nick Fury? And she's looking a bit concerned. So that's pretty cool anyway, so we'll see how that plays in that film. And then the final post-credit scene is a scene with, well, I'm not going to ruin this one, but it's basically with the cat character. I'm not going to say more about the cat because I can do spoilers, but I don't want to do them for the sake of it. And there's some pretty good surprises with that cat in the film. You kind of sort of know something's coming, but you don't know exactly what. And when it happens, it's awesome. So I won't ruin that. But there is, like I said, there's 2. So there's mid-credits, post-credits. Stay for them both. Both very good. Beyond that, what else do I have to say? Some of the 90s stuff in this film, I didn't think it bashed you over the head too much with all that. It could have just been like, oh, here's something from the 90s, and here's something else from the 90s, and another thing, and another. I guess they do kind of do that, but a lot of the time, it's relevant and does tie in with things. There's a really good scene where they've got a CD-ROM, going back to the 90s, and they're playing this thing on a computer, and they put the disc in, and it starts spinning, and it's loading, and it's still loading, and it's still loading like it was in the 90s with these things. And they're all kind of looking at each other like, what's happening? Because a lot of people, a lot of kids nowadays won't remember what technology was like back then, how slow it was. and Nick Fury's just like, well, it's loading. You know, that's normal. You know, and everyone laughed at that in the cinema. That was a really funny bit. There were a lot of good laughs in this film as well. I've had some people in the past say that, it's forced humour in the Marvel movies, it's just all forced. It's not forced at all. It's part of the world that they've created. Forced is when you've got, in DC, where you've established a dark and brooding Batman in one film, the audience reacts badly to it, and in the next film, they then add in one-liners and jokes to make the character more funny. That is forced humour. This is grassroots humour. I can't really, say more than that. And in this film, it really worked, especially with like Ben Mendelsohn's character in this. No, I wouldn't expect a character like his, that's set up like his, to be as funny as he was, but it worked. There's no denying that. Brie Larson did have some funny moments. As much as I say it was kind of a one-note performance, I think she did have some pretty good funny bits in the film as well. So she's got a bit of something about her anyway for the role. I just hope that she does a bit more with it in future appearances. That's all. Now, some of the other 90s things, one thing that I did like about this film was the music that was in it. I kind of figured they were going to do this. It was a bit obvious that they were going to use certain things like Nirvana, No Doubt, Elastica, Garbage, that was great to hear that, Hole, Courtney Love, stuff like that. And she's walking around with a Nine Inch Nails t-shirt as well, which is pretty cool. I have a similar t-shirt myself with the NIN logo on it, so that was pretty cool, just to see all these little 90s references there as well. But the soundtrack was pretty cool, it has to be said. I would buy it, but I already own all these songs anyway, because it's my kind of music, to be fair. So that was all good anyway. So I recommend the film, like I say. I would put it in the middle of the Marvel movies in terms of favourite to least favourite. I'd put it bang in the middle. I give it a 7 out of 10, which I think is a decent review. No less than that. I wouldn't particularly put it higher. I don't think it quite deserves an 8, but 7 is good. 5 to me is average. 6 is good. 7 is very good. So can't say fairer than that, really. Like I say, some other reviewers have said some fairly, not negative things, but they've been a little bit, it was okay, but I wouldn't necessarily recommend it kind of review. Whereas I recommend it. I say go watch it, you'll enjoy it. It is a little bit slow getting started. I don't think I've said that yet. That's one criticism, if anything, I would say about this. It does take a while to get going. I mean, there's stuff happening from the beginning. There's plenty of things to, stop you from going to sleep. But I think it really starts to pick up about halfway through and continues. And it's worth it because the end of the film, and well, from a halfway point onwards, is really good. The payoff is good. So it's worth it. So it's maybe negative, but the payoff's good. It's bad when you've got a film that starts good and then just declines. Examples of that would be something like Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. I mean, the first scene of that sort of works, but then it just declines after that. Whereas this is kind of the opposite of that. So I'll leave it there. Like I said, I don't want to rant too much about it, but really looking forward to Avengers Endgame next month. One final thing I will say about this, it does have a Stan Lee cameo in there, because I know that they filmed a lot of those long in advance, knowing that he was getting on in age. But one thing that I thought was really nice was at the beginning when you've got the Marvel Studios logo, and if you've seen the last, I don't know when they introduced it, it was probably a couple of years ago now, where the Marvel Studio logo sort of comes up out like from like that, and it's got like a projection of all the stuff happening with all the characters projected across the sort of three-dimensional words Marvel Studios. They took out all the stuff that was on there before and replaced it with pictures and videos of Stan Lee and his other appearances, and that was really nice. And it says afterwards something like, "Thanks, Stan Lee," or something like that. It's a really nice touch anyway, so I thought it was quite decent. They would have been happy with that. So right, that aside, I've rambled on quite a bit now, so I'll leave it there. I recommend the film to all the haters. I thought it was good. I think plenty of other people will too. I think it's going to be quite successful. So leave it there and say thank you very much for watching.
not for is born, and we fear the